can take over from here and introduce us to cruising on board renowned Holland America Line.
Thank you very much, Matthew. Thank you for the intro. So this is the official good morning. Before I start, I can hear a little echo there. Can everyone just double check they've got that mute button checked so then we don't get an echo as we go through the presentation. But yeah, good morning officially. Thank you so much, or good afternoon, I should say. It's morning for me, but I know it's afternoon for many of you. But thank you so much for joining us. This is so much fun. We love to connect like this virtually. It's kind of what we do these days in the world, isn't it? But it's so nice to be able to have these sessions and meetings. And for me, I love it because I get to talk and speak with fellow cruisers and folks who are passionate about Holland America, love Holland America, or just love cruising. And we're going to get into lots and lots of that. Both Matthew and I are going to kind of share some experiences and kind of give you a little bit of a picture about of Holland America cruising per se. But before we do any of that, I want to share some things that are probably top of mind for many of you, really important things that are key right now. And that is to address the current global situation and what we are doing. It's something that is our kind of primary task right now. Let's say we are working around the clock with organizations like the CDC, WHO, the CLEAR organization, the world's leading cruise line group. So we're all in lockstep, creating protocols and procedures. And that is what we're doing, as I say, around the clock. We do have some of them for you to view. If you visit our website, our regular hollandamerica.com website, you will find some of those protocols, because I'm sure you're very keen and curious to find out, to see what cruising is going to look like. When we start cruising again, what are the differences? What's going to change? Some of them are listed here, but what I will say is this can and will change. Because as we work with those organizations, we refine these protocols. There are new developments, new enhancements, they will change. So this is by no means a definitive list. This is by no means the final list, but it gives you a general idea. Keep in touch with your Merit and Cruise Experts travel consultant, because they will have this information at their fingertips as it changes, as it updates. So stand by for more information. There will be more forthcoming, but we don't want to put anything out there that's kind of very loose and vague information that will have to either contradict or update later. We want to give you the accurate information as it develops. So stay tuned. So let's move on to the fun stuff. So as Matthew mentioned, I work for Holland America. I represent much of Canada. It's kind of my region. And it's always fun, as I say, speaking with so many and presenting to so many like-minded cruisers and travelers with Holland America. Holland America is so close to my heart. I've worked for Holland America for many years, both on land and at sea. In fact, I met my wife on board a Holland America Line ship. We named our kids after Holland America Line ships. Little Rotterdam is 6 and Noordam is 4 right now. Only joking. We just call them the Dam Kids. I thought you'd like that one. But in all seriousness, this is a company that is so close to my heart, and I know so close to so many of you in the same way. I know some of you on this presentation today who are tuned in this morning or this afternoon have cruised Holland America many, many times before. I know some of you have cruised very recently, a year or so ago. In fact, I know some of you on the call have cruised maybe 5 or 10 years ago with Holland. So you'll probably see some new features and enhancements and things that we've been doing as we kind of keep true to our traditions, but we evolve. You'll see them. And I know there's some of you on the call who have not cruised with Holland America ever. So I'm going to give those of you who haven't, or not for a long time, a quick Holland America 101. So we say we're the cruise line for explorers, foodies, and music lovers. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a second, but if you're any one of those 3 things to varying degrees, we could very well be the cruise line for you. We sail all 7 continents, across the 7 seas. So we have a global reach. And we used to say we were mid-sized, but we don't say we're mid-sized anymore, because there are other cruise lines that say they're mid-sized, but they've got bigger and bigger, and they might have 1,000 more guests on board a ship than we would. Our ships are more spacious. We have larger public staterooms on average than compared to other premium lines, so more uncrowded. And we don't have things like water slides and go-karts Not to say those things aren't great and there isn't a market for that, but there's an increasing market for not having those things, as folks who have cruised in that way on those big mega ships look for more kind of touches of luxury and more space on board, or folks who have only cruised on small ships want a little bit more variety and a little bit more to do on board. So we're kind of that perfect and kind of middle ground. I'm not going to touch on all those features that we have on board this morning or this afternoon, sorry. I just don't have time. I'd love to. There's a lot going on under the hood, so to speak. When I see this picture, one thing that always jumps out at me is that section of the middle part of the ship is called a magrodome, that roof section. That's unique in the industry to Holland America. That means our pool deck, our beautiful Lido pool area, because we're cruising all over the world 365 days a year, if it's raining, like it sometimes does everywhere, we can close that roof and everyone can still continue to have fun and relax in that beautiful pool area space. With other cruise lines that don't have those kind of things, when it rains, everyone scurries down inside and it makes it more crowded inside. So these are the small touches that really make a difference to the bigger picture with Holland. So we attract a wide variety of people, from anniversary couples, you know, sisters having that reunion, girls' getaways, families where you've got grandparents, aunts, uncles, grandkids, cousins. Everyone goes together, maybe to Alaska. If you're taking the kids to Alaska, that's like nature's greatest theme park. You don't need a real theme park if you've got Alaska. But we attract so many different types of folks. And earlier on, I mentioned we're for explorers. And what I mean by that, and why we say that, is because we have a depth and breadth with our itineraries and global reach like nobody else does. We've been doing this for almost 150 years, and we will visit in a year 470 ports, but there are so many itinerary options. So over 500 itineraries because of that depth and breadth, and the fact we've been visiting parts of the world for decades upon decades, where other cruise lines have only done that perhaps in the last few years. We've got the expertise and the experience in those regions to deliver incredible immersive experiences. And then foodies, I mentioned for foodies. Now, I love this shot, by the way. This is my favorite dining option on board. This is the Tamarind restaurant, kind of a Pan-Asian fusion restaurant. But we occupy this sweet spot, this wonderful middle ground in the industry, where if you're familiar with cruising, but you haven't cruised Holland America, you may have experienced one of these two scenarios where either you're cruising on a very small ship and there's one main dining room and then maybe one alternate place to eat, or you're cruising on a mega ship where you've got the dining room and then 15 or 20 alternate paid options, and in the dining room it's the same menu every night. With Holland America, it's neither of those things. We've got our true classic dining room experience where the menu rotates every day, breakfast, lunch and dinner, whether it's fixed seating or open seating. And then we've got 3, 4 or 5 beautiful exclusive alternate venues for a treat, something a little bit different, so you can spice it up and have that variety. So that's why we've got that wonderful kind of, like I say, that middle ground. And we don't have just one big name celebrity chef like you find often in the industry. We've got this team of 8 individuals who are luminaries in their own fields and have won many accolades, restaurateurs. I'm not going to run through them all and their backgrounds. I'd love to. We don't have time. You may recognize some of those names, but together they just kind of give this input and this injection of energy across all of the menus in every dining venue, across every mealtime. So there's something fresh there. They're all very passionate about what they do, and they're all inputting those fresh ideas. So that's why food is you know, has always been something we're known for, because we have that attention to detail across the board. And one thing we're doing these days is taking those experiences out into the port. I don't mean we're taking the food out of the ship to the port. What I mean is something we noticed a few years ago is that folks had done river cruises. They went out and tried a couple of river cruises, then came back to cruising ocean because there are just more options. But when they came back from cruising river, they had a new kind of mindset or a new way of looking at culinary experiences in ports. They want to break bread with locals. This might be true of you, breaking bread with the locals, going into those mum and pop kitchens, seeing how they use those local ingredients and those traditional dishes unique to that town. So we do that. We offer those experiences in port, but not just in the culinary hotspots like you'd think Europe and Asia. We even do that in Alaska. I've been in Alaska recently, and we've had foodie tours, walking tours in places like Juneau, where you get to go into the top restaurants and kitchens meet the local chefs, using the locally sourced ingredients, sample those dishes. Even in catch again, going out harvesting the oysters and the kelp and seeing how those dishes are prepared. So culinary on the ship, off the ship, across the board is what we do. And then that other aspect I mentioned, music, we made a commitment about 5 years ago to rule the high seas music-wise, and we certainly do that. We have got this concept called Music Walk, which is essentially all of our music venues within a stone's throw of each other along the one deck, instead of being, spread out across the ship. So you're trying to look for something to do, some evening entertainment, it's spread out. We've got a beating heart and soul with Music Walk. So that consists of BB King's Blues Club. Now they're an 8-piece live band that knocks your socks off. They are the real deal. BB King's All-Stars all kind of graduate through BB King's Blues Club in Memphis. And they'll be playing anything that gets the blood pumping, gets the crowd on their feet, from Beyonce to Chuck Berry to Bruno Mars, you name it. Then we've got this now open concept piano bar. We used to have just one piano entertainer. Now we've got 2 dueling pianos, lots of laughs, requests, sing-alongs. They play across the genres. So that's happening. These are like individual show lounges, BB King's Blues Club, the Billboard Piano Lounge. And then for the classic fans and the classical fans, we've always been strong with our classical music. We've got folks from Lincoln Center in New York, the esteemed Lincoln Center, on board, incredibly talented individuals. They're not just playing classic, they'll do classical fusion. So you'll get your regular classical sets, but then they'll do Billy Joe meets Brahms or Coldplay meets Chopin. They'll do these really cool mixes. And then we've got another lounge, I'll touch on that later on. Rolling Stone Rock Room is a new part of this Music Wall concept. So music is key on board Holland America ships. And then I would just mention service. It's hard to talk about service, isn't it? Because the cruise industry is full of great service. But Holland America is regularly name checked by not just other entities in the hospitality and tourism industry, but even in retail. We will be looked on as an example of great service. A lot of it's down to our incredible teams on board in the culinary and housekeeping departments from Indonesia, and the beverage department, the team from the Philippines. Those crew members win hearts and minds on a regular basis. They're the backbone of what we do. So here's a quick look at the dam fleet. I'm not going to run through all the dam ships, but you can see they look absolutely gorgeous. The look of a Holland America Line ship just stands out. Whether you're in the Norwegian fjords or the Mediterranean or Antarctica, you see that ship, it just looks like a ship. That's what people say. The dark blue hull, the teak decks. So they're the dam ships. We have 11 ships in the fleet. 2021 is really exciting because we've got a brand new ship coming along called the Rotterdam. She'll be Rotterdam number 7, in fact. We keep that name within the fleet. So she's our 3rd pinnacle class ship. She'll be the 85th ship to ever sail under the Holland America Line flags. This is really exciting, the fact she's coming along next year. So she's still in the shipyard right now. These are some images of what her suites and staterooms will look like. Absolutely gorgeous accommodations. Look at those. Wonderful to spend time on a relaxing sea day. That's a Neptune suite. She's got all those wonderful bars and lounges, music venues that I just mentioned. The sumptuous open, fresh dining room. Just a gorgeous ship throughout. True Holland America style. Only slightly bigger than those previous ships that came a few years ago. Only 15,000 tons larger. She's still technically under 100,000 tons. So mid-sized. If you think of what used to be known as mid-size, we say perfectly sized because we feel we're smaller than the average for sure in that respect. And this came through live this morning. This is live from the yard. We just had our coin ceremony, which is a ceremony that always takes place when we reach a certain milestone in the yard before she's about to be floated out and then fitted on the inside. And this just came through, these shots from our Fincantieri shipyard just outside Venice in Mestre, Italy. So you can see she's taking her shape. And we're getting really excited. I'm a Holland America nerd, so I get really excited when I see things like this. Anyway, we've got a lot to talk about destination-wise. I'd love to talk about all 500 itineraries and all 400 ports of call, but it's not going to happen. We've only got 2 things we can talk about because we have time constraints. So first of all, I'm going to just hand over to Matthew in just a second, but the first area I'd like to talk about today is Europe. Now, again, Holland America has a unique position with this because we have a kind of a DNA that no other cruise line really has, because we have a heritage and a heart and soul that comes from Europe. We're 150 years old, a cruise line that started in Holland, in the Netherlands, And we have deep roots in that part of the world that are very much alive and well today. So we have that heritage and soul and spirit from Europe, but we've been headquartered in North America 100% for 50 years. So we've got this wonderful kind of European soul and North American mindset to present Europe to a North American guest. If you look around the cruise industry, you either find one or the other. It's a European line, maybe an auxiliary office in the US, or a US line. So we're able to do both. And I think that speaks volumes when you're on board. And it's a bit like, I always find it's like when you, let's say you're going to visit a friend or a family member in a city that you're unfamiliar with, and they give you the inside scoop. They show you around. That's what it's like going to Europe with Holland, because it's our backyard. We know it so well. But Matthew, I know you've had some incredible experiences yourself in Europe, and you book a lot of Europe cruises as well. So I'm going to hand over to you to kind of tell us a little bit about those experiences.
Great stuff. Yeah, great pleasure. And it's so true that it's such a handy, such an insightful way to see such a diverse continent as Europe is by cruise ship, and certainly by Holland America Line. Of all the times I've been in Europe, just to highlight and start off geographically within Europe, of all of my travels throughout Europe, the times I've been, I have enjoyed, and of all of my Holland America cruises that I've done, I've often enjoyed these Nordic areas of Europe the most. It's so enchanting, and it's such a wonderful experience, especially by cruise ship. You've got the Baltic Sea, Scandinavia, also Iceland, of course. And what's so great about this region is that you have significant major European capitals like Copenhagen, Denmark, Reykjavik, Iceland, and even also, no longer the capital, but fascinating St. Petersburg, Russia is a great insight and opportunity on a Baltic itinerary that allows you to get in there, see the city, view the palaces there in the former capital of Russia, the site of the Russian Revolution, and get into the famous Hermitage Museum there. You'll see the one image there with the Alexander column at the bottom, middle there. St. Petersburg is just stunning and one of the most beautiful cities in Europe, and yet so sort of tucked away and forgotten. On a Baltic cruise and itinerary, you can get in there with Holland America. In my opinion, honestly, the Hermitage Museum, the equal, if not superior to the famous Louvre in Paris, in my opinion, just for their collection. But not only that, what's so enchanting about this region and itineraries is that you can also get into really small little towns and ports that you wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity to explore or to get into. A lot of these are certainly very significant historical places, Hanseatic League towns, if those who are into history, just fascinating. Still, some of them walled around, historic walled cities for protection from the old Middle Ages. These are places like Bruges, Bergen, Tallinn, Estonia, and even significantly Stockholm, Sweden is one of these famous Hanseatic League cities. Personally, yeah, it's just one of my most enchanting places to visit. But it's only, of course, a small part of Europe. Tom, maybe you can show and describe, just how Holland America Line covers the continent.
Sure. Yeah, it is. I think the Northern Europe, for me, it's almost like the perfect natural next step if someone has sailed in the Mediterranean. But it's also a good starting point. But why I think it's kind of the natural next step is because it has that same kind of busy feel to it. It's a very busy, these are very busy itineraries, but there's such an incredible mix in one kind of 12-day itinerary or even a 10-day itinerary. The amount of kind of variety in culture, art, history, cuisine. Even if you're cruising, 2 ports within the same country, the diversity, there's just so much to get your teeth into, and just the scenery. I'll go back a slide or two, but yeah, sailing in and out of Stockholm is just gorgeous, beautiful time of year. So these maps you're seeing are from the Rotterdam, that brand new ship, from the Rotterdam's what we say is a premier season. We don't just have one inaugural sailing. So folks don't just go for the first sailing and that's it. Our new ships kind of do like a rock star tour of Europe. And it's so much fun. I've been fortunate enough to do it myself several times for the whole season when I used to work on board. And it's just a spine tingling experience because as you get into ports, that port is celebrating the fact that Holland America ship is coming in for the first time. And there's a plaque ceremony, sometimes bands and performers playing on the pier every time we're hitting a new port. So it's so exciting. Folks come from kind of all corners of the globe who sail Holland America to be part of a new ship season. And there are others who have just heard about it, maybe over dinner on a ship with fellow guests, and have always wanted to do it. And they'll come. But also, we're getting a lot of folks booking these cruises for the reasons Matthew and I have just kind of alluded to, just that wonderful variety and mix. With this sailing alone, if you think about Iceland itself as a travel destination, this gives you 3 ports in Iceland and an overnight stay in the very cool capital, Reykjavik. If you were flying to Iceland and staying there in a hotel, you know, that's a significant cost. This is all just part of the cruise, where you get the Norwegian fjords and Scotland as well, Loch Ness for Invergordon, Edinburgh. But yeah, the Baltic, I think, is a great starting point. That is, if you had to start somewhere in the Mediterranean, like you said, 2 days in St. Petersburg, that's just a phenomenal experience. You've got so much to see in 2 days. Warnemünde as well is one worth mentioning. It's a lovely fishing town, but it's also the gateway to the Cold War landmarks like Checkpoint Charlie and this type of thing. So these 2 maps you see are basically, one is a continuation of the other. This is called a collector's voyage. It's when we've already made 2 voyages back to back, in case you want to take that opportunity. So on the left-hand side of the screen is our Baltic sailing. This is happening. I don't have dates on these, but this is actually in September of 2021. So this sailing, when it's finished, that ship, the Rotterdam, our new ship, will then make her way back over to Fort Lauderdale to go to the US for the Caribbean season starting in late October. So she has a transatlantic sailing that we've put together for you, just in case you'd like to take 2, and you get about a 10% discount if you'd like to do that. And you stay on board through the entire, you know, in the same stateroom or suite. And the best thing to do if you're interested in these, speak with the Merit Travel team or your Merit Travel consultant or cruise experts consultant. They know all about these options, and they can help you kind of put these together. She also is sailing up from the Mediterranean at the start of the season. This is in August of 2021. And then you can combine that with a little bit of the fjords. So you can sail from Rome, get the Iberian Peninsula all the way up into the fjords, or combine the fjords, like Matthew just mentioned, with the Baltic on the right-hand side. So many exciting options with our brand new ship Rotterdam when she sails in 2021. I must make honorable mention of her sister, the new Statendam. She was the second of the Pinnacle class ships. She's going off the beaten track a little bit. You can see on the left-hand side, she's going all the way up into the North Cape, the land of the midnight sun. A very in-depth Norwegian fjord sailing. She goes all the way around the British Isles too. This is a very cool sailing. So you've got a lot of Scotland there. You've got a little bit of England as well, a lot of Ireland. So you've got Cove for Cork, which is great for shore excursions to the Blarney Castle, where you can kiss the Blarney Stone and get the gift of the gab. If you don't already have it, I don't know, maybe some of you already have the gift of the gab, I'm sure, but you can get it if not from Cove. Belfast, Douglas in the Isle of Man, where they do those motor races, some of you might be familiar with. Dublin as well, the beautiful capital city of Ireland, which is in fact also the biggest city in the world. Yeah, that's the biggest city in the world because it keeps Dublin and Dublin and Dublin. Sorry, I had to throw that one in. I couldn't help it. But these are combinations on the, on the right-hand side is a combination of what you can do on the new Statendam. So she's the sister. So let's move down to the Mediterranean. I put this slide in here because I figured, well, for some of us, it's coming up to maybe our dinner time. For some of us, lunchtime. So this will get those tummies rumbling. Look at that wonderful fare from the Mediterranean, those incredible delights. That's like why so many of us choose to sail the Mediterranean. We're going to touch on the Mediterranean because there are some very, very important things happening for 2021 with Holland America. We're bringing back some legendary voyages, some voyages we haven't sailed for many years because there's been some ports that have now opened, and we're adding some voyages that just haven't been done before. With key ports like Venice and Barcelona, Livorno for Florence and Pisa. We've got options in Croatia, the beautiful Greek Isles, so many options down there. But a key port that's so important that is new for this coming year, but not new for us because we've been there many, many times before, but it's been about 7 years since cruise ships could enter, is Istanbul, one of my favorite cities. Matthew, I know you've sailed a lot to this region, you've experienced this region, you've booked a lot of Mediterranean. What are your thoughts on this part of the world?
So stunning, and such a great opportunity to revisit now that things are sort of returning and getting back, being more exotic. Istanbul is a world away. It's so fascinating. Obviously a maritime city, but as people may also know, it's one of the only major cities in the world that straddles two continents through the Bosphorus Strait that connects to the Black Sea. Just gorgeous, incredibly historical. I mean, it's been the site of various destinations. Of course, Byzantine Empire, she was the second Rome, or for Eastern Orthodox Christianity, you know, the capital, the center of everything. Later on, you know, an imperial city by the Ottoman Empire. And now just a fascinating collection of ancient palaces, gorgeous, gorgeous mosques, some of which are former cathedrals and churches, in fact. They date so long ago, combined with really a modern sense. What's so wonderful about Turkey is that the Turkish people are so kind and so nice. They're so welcoming. And Istanbul is such a treat all over again. As Tom mentioned, for the first time now to revisit by cruise ships and by Holland America in quite a number of years. Of course, it's so fascinating to go up and through the Bosphorus as well to connect to Istanbul, because you have to go through the fascinating Dardanelles, as you'll see on the map there. That's a really intricate, really beautiful section of islands and coastline. That's also quite historical as well, from World War I, if people recall. Yeah, just amazing. And the great opportunity of this is that these Holland American ships, they will be coming and going, and you're going to get into other spots in Turkey, throughout the Greek Isles, and coming and going up and down the Adriatic Sea as well. What is so significant, and as Tom has mentioned and alluded to before, these beautiful Holland America ships, not only are they so lovely and so enriching and cultural on board, whether it's, you know, music, culinary, but also, you know, historical artifacts. You know, each ship has its own museum collection. They're so appropriate for visiting Europe in that manner. But not only that, these ships are large enough to have all the options you want on board, but they're still just small enough, not small, but within the parameters to still get in and out of Venice. As we know, Venice is curtailing, you know, over tourism, and they're banning some large ships. Holland America vessels are idyllic and perfect for these areas. And what's so great also is that you'll get into these little spots. Really a big emphasis for next year with Holland America Line is to get into not only the major spots of Istanbul, Venice, etc., but also some of the smaller spots, the really tucked away and unvisited ports where you can really, really get away from the crowds, and you can find that, you know, just looking at these maps here. Isn't that true, Tom?
Yeah, exactly. That's something that we've actually kind of planned and is by design, because I'm just going to throw back to those two itineraries, the one that goes into Istanbul. You've got that mix of the lesser known ports and the key ports. Overnight stays is a big thing for us. So we spend 2 days in Istanbul, 2 days in Venice at the beginning. You could combine that with this voyage that goes to the kind of western, kind of glitzy end of the Mediterranean, that also has an overnight stay in Venice. So if you combine that to make 24 days, you get 2 nights in Venice, almost 3 days in Venice on the ship. So no need for a hotel in that respect. But yeah, these two are great examples of kind of winding the clock back on that feel of the Mediterranean, where, you know, 30 years ago, there weren't ports with 3, 4, 5 port, big cruise ships in, and you kind of had the area to yourself in a certain respect. So we're creating itineraries that give that feel. Obviously, we're visiting key ports, but if you look here, we're doing a lot of Croatia. When folks think about cruising to Croatia, they may think Dubrovnik. Well, Dubrovnik is beautiful, but it can get very, very busy. So we're replacing Dubrovnik on some itineraries with Rijeka, Korčula, Var, Split, which is another kind of resort town, but they're all on that beautiful Istrian coast with those tiny, small towns and incredible views, those islands. So yeah, off the beaten track is definitely kind of our motto for the Mediterranean in 2021. Now, I'm going to switch gears and dive into Alaska super quick before we wrap up, because I know there's a lot of folks out there thinking, well, even if you're kind of globetrotters, usually with your vacation plans, there's some of you I know that are thinking that, you know, when we travel in 2021, we want to travel, but we're going to stay close to home probably this year. and cruise Alaska, even if you've cruised Alaska before. And Holland America is the line of choice for Alaska for so many. We always say we are Alaska. We've been cruising there and then had a land operation in Alaska for over 70 years, since before Alaska was a state. We've been awarded time and time again for our programming in Alaska and for our itineraries in Alaska. We are kind of, I guess, synonymous with Alaska because we have more ships than others in that region. Especially when it comes to things like Glacier Bay. We always talk about the amount of permits we have for Glacier Bay. Essentially what that means is, unlike other cruise lines, which some only get to visit Glacier Bay for an hour or two, some even miss Glacier Bay altogether, we can spend a whole day there visiting various glaciers. So it's a full day of scenery and immersion. If that was a port, if you had a choice of spending 2 hours in a port or a whole day in a port, which would you choose? That's why folks come to Alaska with Holland America for Glacier Bay. And there is something very exciting happening for 2021. That's why this little guy is giving us a round of applause. We're really excited. I'm super excited. And that is, we have that other sister to that Pinnacle class. Remember I talked about the brand new ship Rotterdam? Her sister, one of these new Pinnacle class ships, is coming to Alaska for the first time. They're coming to the West Coast for the first time, sailing out of Vancouver for the first time in 2021. And that is our beautiful ship called Koningsdam. Koning meaning king in Dutch. So the Koningsdam is coming to Alaska, which means folks get to cruise Alaska and enjoy all the regular reasons why they would sail on Holland America to Alaska, and check out this one of our new ships, one of our new Pinnacle class ships, and enjoy these new features on board. Again, Matthew, I don't think I know anyone who's probably booked as many Alaska cruises for clients as yourself. And I know you've sailed a bunch of times. So what are your thoughts on Alaska?
Alaska is very, very dear to my heart. It is. I've been fortunate to visit Alaska over 10 times, both on ships and on land, for work purposes, and also for my chosen vacation. It's just so breathtaking. For those who know or who live in the Pacific Northwest, Vancouver, Seattle, and areas, you know, it's the same topography, Alaska, that you're viewing and cruising along. But honestly, it's all that we have in the Pacific Northwest, but times 10. Like, it's just overwhelming. And of course, the extra benefit of the stunning glaciers and the mountain vistas constantly. Of course, all these Alaska ports and towns are really, really intimate. It's such a wonderful destination for just getting out and about. It's so opportunistic. Everything's right there. And each Holland America vessel and ship, as you cruise, will dock right in the heart of town. So you're right there. You step off and you're right enveloped in one of these wonderful, wonderful spots to visit along the way. Alaska, actually, funnily enough, was actually my first ever cruise experience. When I first started in the industry many, many years ago. In fact, it was on a Holland America line ship for my honeymoon. So it obviously, as I say, it's dear to my heart. Wonderful, beautiful destination that is so gorgeous and so exotic. And yet, as Tom mentioned, it's so close to home. So really handy and really wonderful to get there, and perhaps again for many of you.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, and exactly what you mentioned there about getting into port. We're because we've been going there for so long, we have more ships there than anybody else. The ports give us top billing. So, for example, in Juneau, you'll pretty much always find the Holland America ships are docked right downtown by the square. Other cruise lines docked maybe, you know, down the way, 15 minutes walk, 20 minutes walk down the way, or 5 minutes out of town in the taxi, and then others even further out down at the container port, which is a 15-minute taxi ride. So we're right there, and you'll find that in Skagway the same way. We get that top billing. That actually applies to other parts of the world too, but I always really enjoy that convenience when I'm there. And I must just mention, because Koningsdam is there, remember I showed you this slide earlier, and there was that other lounge that I didn't mention, Rolling Stone Rock Room. The Pinnacle class ships, as in Rotterdam, Koningsdam, New Statendam, so this ship that's now coming to Alaska has this other lounge as well, in addition, the Rolling Stone Rock Room. So in addition to all that other great music that I told you about, you've got classic rock. Think kind of classic pub rock, classic 60s, 70s, 80s rock. You know the kind of type of music I'm talking about, played perfectly, knocked out of the park by a band that is selected for each ship for us by Rolling Stone magazine, put together at utmost professional. So that's really cool. We've got new features on board that ship that some of you may not be familiar with. A second coffee shop called the Grand Dutch Cafe, a truly authentic Dutch cafe with Dutch crepes, Dutch pastries, Dutch lagers, coffees, teas served on Royal Delft earthenware in this beautiful lounge area that has a viewing area to look out if we're sailing or if we're in port, and to kind of view what's going on board inside the ship as well. The dining rooms are just so spacious and fresh feeling, because I know some of us may feel that, well, if we're going to be traveling, we need to be on a much smaller ship. But remember, when you're on very small ships, the dining rooms and areas on board are small. So you've got low ceilings, everything's kind of small. With our dining spaces, our dining room, there's this wonderful open, fresh feel, and you can see that with the Koningsdam there. So yeah, awesome itinerary. That's what we're doing in 2021. And if you are of the mind where you think, well, we've got a little bit more than 7 days, let's stay close to home and do something a little bit more, let's say, in depth or a little bit more varied, you can choose to do a land and sea journey. Now, with these, reach out to your Merit travel advisor, your cruise experts, travel advisor, and ask them about land and sea journeys. We have many of these. They combine the convenience of that full cruise. You've just done that cruise option with either 2, 3, 4, or 5 days on land, spending time in Denali National Park, even up to the Yukon, Whitehorse, Fairbanks, all in wonderful, comfortable accommodations, the McKinley Explorer. These are truly enriching experiences, wildlife, scenery. So you can do kind of a bucket list type itinerary close to home. That is longer. It's not just about short options. So do ask the team about those options. And then just to wrap up, I threw these slides in because I was thinking, well, Koningsdam is on the West Coast going to Alaska, but I should really let you all know what she does before and after Alaska each year. She's sailing to Hawaii. So if you want to come and check out that new ship on the West Coast, but you want to do something longer, fall of 2021, spring of 2022, she's doing a wonderful 18-day round trip Vancouver to Hawaii. And if you're all about, for those of our folks on the call today on the West Coast, or want to just do this because it's such a cool itinerary, we have lots of Panama Canal options coming in and out of Vancouver with our signature class ships, Eurodam and New Amsterdam, to and from. And the Panama Canal is a rite of passage. If you've never done it, it's all about that lush jungle and ecology, the experience of going through the locks, that engineering marvel of seeing the ship rise through nothing other than the sheer force of gravity, the ancient history, as I say, the wildlife, the beaches, obviously the food. You're heading to Mexico as part of this. So look out for those Panama Canals as well. I just wanted to mention that because it often connects to Alaska, and we were talking about Alaska. So to kind of wrap things up, I want to let you know that if you're in the mindset now where you're dreaming and you're planning and you want to have something on the back burner, you want to have something to look forward to, because after all, as travelers, that's what we do, right? We always pencil something in the calendar, whether it's this year, next year, the year after. So if you want to do that, you've got some real kind of conveniences and assurances you can take advantage of right now. We have something called Book with Confidence, which means you can make a booking, select one of those sailings, maybe something else. You've got all the way up until 30 days prior to the sailing of that. So if it's 2021 or 2022, you've got all the way up to 30 days prior to its sailing to decide to cancel, and then we give you a credit. So you're really covered in that way with that peace of mind. And there are some great offers to be had. Speak with the team at Merit Travel and the cruise experts. Speak with your advisor. They'll source incredible deals. Right now, we've got this package that gives free drinks, the gratuities, a dining package. If you're in a suite, you get Wi-Fi. It combines with extras that only Merit Travel and cruise experts can give you as well. There are things like early pay incentives. If you wanted to put down an installment after your deposit, you can get extra shipboard credit. If you want to pay the whole thing off, you couldn't use a future cruise credit for that, but if you want to pay the whole thing off, you get discounts and shipboard credit. So all sorts of deals out there. But because we work so closely with cruise experts and Merit Travel at Holland America, we work so closely, they're such incredible partners of ours. We're able to put together offers that you wouldn't get directly from Holland America. For example, following this event for the next 8 days, There are extra shipboard credits that you'll get just through booking through Merit or Cruise Experts on top of that other good stuff we've seen. But yeah, you'll always get a better deal booking through Merit Travel and Cruise Experts, going through them, than you would coming to us directly. That's because they have the ability to leverage volume and group volume. What that means is you're not necessarily on a ship with a group of other people, but because they're working in volume, they have this economy of scale where we pass on benefits to them, lower rates and extras to pass on to you, their clients. So you'll always get a better deal that way. And I think the most important thing to underscore is, especially because we've just come through this period where there were some folks earlier in the year that had their travel plans interrupted. If you're ever in a situation where, you know, an isolated incident, you miss a connection, a flight gets deviated, your Merit Travel or Cruise Experts advisor is just a phone call and an email away, and they've got your back. They are your advocate. They are your personal assistant when it comes to travel. They'll do all the hard work for you, and they've got all these resources at their fingertips that you just wouldn't have. So make sure you're working with them. So yeah, if you have questions about this offer, make sure you just ask the team, and they'll be able to help you out with that. So I think that's pretty much it from me in terms of all the slides. I think we may have some questions, so I'm just going to hand over to Annabelle here.
Yes, we do. Thank you, everybody, for sticking with us. There's actually a few questions. The first one is, and I think what this person means is, do your ships have solo cabins, or, and I'm gonna go one step further, do you have single supplements, or is there any time where those single supplements are waived?
Good question. So the answer to that is no, yes, no, or yes, yes, no. So here's what I mean. So we do have solo cabins. We've actually, on our Pinnacle class ships, we have some ocean view staterooms that are designed just for one occupant, single occupant. We have about a dozen of them. And they're a great rate. They're actually the best rate if you're traveling by yourself. Even if you're part of a group, you're just kind of by yourself in that room. They are the best rate by far if you're looking for something with a window, with an ocean view. However, if you're looking for the best deal, it would still be more beneficial, and you'll get the better rate by booking an interior room with the single supplement rate. At this point in time, we don't have any concessions or we don't waive that single occupancy fare. So it is double the base cruise fare at this point in time. That may change in the future, but at this point, we don't have that. So yeah, the best bet is either book the minimum interior, or if you want that window, book one of those solo occupancy rooms.
Thank you. Next question, and this one is from Vicky and Bill. Are your ships small enough to dock right in the cities, or do you have to use tenders? I know that's a wide question, so.
Yes, primarily, good. Yeah, that's a good question. Most cities, we will dock right alongside. The only cities where we use tenders are where pretty much most ships would use tenders. I after being at sea myself with Holland America for about kind of 7 years or so, I find the only places where we really use a tender is where there is literally no dock. Somewhere like Santorini, no ships, not even the smallest ships go alongside. So primarily we will dock, and there'll be lots of situations where you see us docked alongside, but bigger ships further out using tenders. So yeah, hope that answers.
Thank you. Back to the solo occupancy question. Is the solo occupancy room still twice the normal cruise price?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's a very common, cruise industry attribute where, yeah, oftentimes it honestly often is for a single traveler. It's widespread throughout every cruise line. It's truly a bit punishing on a single traveler on cost, but that's not just the regular accommodations. As Tom has pointed out, the newest Pinnacle class ships with Holland America Line have these single occupancy accommodations, which have a much reduced fare. So it's a great opportunity and insight for single travelers, fortunately.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess one way to kind of make that comparison without kind of drawing it out and pulling up fares, and really the best way to get those answers so you can understand the differences is to speak with one of the team and price up a couple of types of rooms. But if you compared that single occupancy ocean view room to, say, the next highest category ocean view room, which isn't single occupancy, you would see a big jump. So they are discounted in that respect, those solo occupancy rooms. You're not paying double what, double just for having that yourself. You are paying that in effect with the minimum category for an interior room, but those have a much lower starting point anyway, a base fare anyway. So yeah, I would say I recommend you speak with the team, have them like price up some of these options, and you'll see where the value is, because depending on the type of cruise you are and on the itinerary, you might choose one over the other.
Mhm.
Next question. This one's from Vicky as well. Do the ships have a restaurant on the open deck?
Yes, we have. Well, there's a few kind of al fresco, if you like to call it, options. So all of our ships have the Lido Market area, which is right by our pool area. So those tables then become that's outdoor seating. Also, the rear deck and the mid kind of pool. There's a rear pool deck and a mid pool deck. They're both there's tables that are outside, and they're also tables that are laid with napkins and silverware for dinner. So you can have a nice sit down. The same meals that are served in the dining room, you can grab that from our Lido Market. It's served for you, and you can have that up on deck. Also, the more casual options are there. Dive-in pizza, hot dogs and burgers, New York pizza and deli are there. But on our Pinnacle class ships, on the New Staten Dam, the Tamarind has an al fresco restaurant area. So yeah, there are some options to dine under the stars. I love doing that.
And this is the last question, I believe. Somebody's asked about HEPA filter systems, and how come you don't use it for the entire cruise ship?
Good question. Well, I'm not going to give a specific answer on that, because I'm not a kind of filtration engineer. But what I will say is, watch this space when it comes to those protocols and procedures as we kind of give more information and background on that, because there are lots of discussion around HEPA filtration systems, HVAC systems are being adapted, being adjusted, being reviewed across the whole industry, you know, and that's all the cruise lines in lockstep with the CDC and WHO. So without being, you know, an absolute expert on those systems, I would not want to comment, because I may get that information wrong. So as frustrating as that may be for you, I would say just wait until we have a little bit more information. We're gonna have lots of background and information on why we've come up with certain solutions and how we're implementing them, and opportunities to ask questions. So that all that information will be forthcoming as we get closer to sailing again.
And that's it for the questions in the chat. But before we sign off, I'm just going to ask one more time. Is anybody have any more questions? Because this is your last chance. And
feel free to follow up with us directly too, and we're happy to advise and navigate and welcome you on board a future departure as well.
Matt, I'm going to let you do the last couple slides.
Will do. So just wanted to sum up and thank everyone for attending today. It's been a great pleasure to have you with us. Keep in touch with us, and you know, make a note over the next month and a half. You'll find we're doing many other travel topics, destinations, travel suppliers, and fascinating insights of virtual travel talks to come, whether on our exclusive long stays with Merit Travel, that's coming up in 2 weeks' time, Exodus tours, walking and hiking expeditions at the end of the month, or next month, we might well see Tom right back here again with luxury cruise line, very tiny intimate ships that Tom also handles in his portfolio. So keep in touch, return back, tell your friends, and we'll look forward to seeing you on here once again. Thanks once again, everyone. Great pleasure to see you, and keep in touch. We're at your service.
Bye,
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye. Thank you.